All right, so here we go. It's been a minute. Got to remember how to do this. Make videos. So, Living Desert, we've got the gateway entry signs for the village Watutu. So, we got the smaller one, we got the bigger one. You guys are already kind of familiar, you know these are coming, so this is just kind of how it's all going to go together. So, look for some 1/4 inch clear acrylic. We're going to go ahead and laser these. Got ourselves a crazy font and go over those. We got some HDU, 1 inch. The density, I'll leave that up to you. Yes, that rhymes. 1/4 inch plate. These are the mounting plates. And look for these rectangles here. These will be for these are like seam jigs for doing the big tubing. Just look for 1/8 inch. Got some splice pieces. This is just going to be the topper that goes across the top. Look for a bend scribe. Not much there. And there's all your 090 panels. These are drill guides for the steel, but otherwise all of this goes directly to get it all cleaned up and everything. But it pretty much goes to first shop and or paint. It's going to get all painted and prepped, and it's going to look all pretty like this. And then you're going to use the studs on the back of all the letters here to mount it when you're all done. So be ready for that, whether that gets done in the field as far as these panels go on top or not, but just be prepared for a lot of post-paint assembly, making sure that all these letters get siliconed on and everything. So then there's going to be a lot of double stick tape. So just keep that in mind that there will be a lot of assembly after paint. So where to start? So we'll start with the small guy here. They're kind of the same as far as how you're going to construct them and how it all goes together. So, but I have it sort of laid out, so I didn't have to repeat it, but I kind of have the majority of it laid out here on the small one. So, so you have all your cut lists here. This will be the cut list for the small one, and this is the cut list for the big one, minus these 2 extra pieces that are the verticals that go right here. And the fact that this is 1/4 inch wall versus 3/16 wall for the small one, the 4x4 by 3/16. Like these parts here are the same size, and a lot of it's the same material. You'll have the 1x1 and the 2x1 rectangle tube. So when you go to cut all the parts, you can go ahead and get these 2 lists put together and add it together and just get the same parts. Like these 32-inch pieces here are the same as this side, but I just kept them broke apart so it didn't get too much. But like I said, you can kind of just cut everything all at once. So put these 2 lists together. Don't forget that there is the other list. Save you time. So the basic idea is that, as you probably know, is you're just going to take these 1/4 inch plates and you're going to weld the crossbars to them. And you're going to have this gusset and you're going to burn that in. All this is completely burnt all the way around. And then it's going to bolt directly to a steel tube, 6x6 steel tube. So that's really the hardest part. And that's where I'm going to leave it up to you guys. Just like the big logos is sort of like some pre-game analysis before you start, whether you want to build this on your table or you want to build it in the shop, especially the big one here, because you're pushing 30 feet. Whether you want to build this in the shop, build it on a table, or do you just build this outside so you don't have to carry it outside? It doesn't get stuck inside, things like that, because it's going to be plenty heavy with that 1/4 inch wall. So, so just kind of give it a little thought how you guys want to build it, whether you build it on the ground or whatever. So pretty simple. What I'm seeing here is in order to keep things square, what you're going to do is take the mounting plate. Once you get your 2 tube pieces, your horizontal lengths, once you get those apart from each other how you like, get them lined up how you like, what you're going to do is if you clamp the mounting plate to a piece of 2x that's longer than the plate, and then you can go ahead and bonk that plate right up against, and the tube will bonk against the 2x, and then that way that'll help bottom that out, and then it'll help line it up and make sure that the 2 pieces of tubing are indeed, 90. So again, that's really the hardest part of this, is just getting this to be 90, getting these to be, so it's not a parallelogram, and making sure that they are parallel to each other, and just getting that plate ready to go. So again, if you take like a piece of tubing along the backside, clamp it to the plate, that'll allow you to bonk it up against those. Then what you're going to do is, what I would do is take scrap pieces of like 1x1, or pieces of angle from the magic bucket over there, and the scrap bucket, and then just lay it across, and you can tack it to the face here and here, and that'll help make it. So temporary tack it really well, but go ahead and temporarily tack it to the face, and that way it'll keep it parallel and ready to go. Then you can go ahead and get this tacked up, and then once you get this all burnt, you get the gusset in there, and you burn it to the plate. You get everything burnt really well. Then you can go ahead and just grind cut all the scrap pieces off and clean it up and bond to it. And that way, that'll give you a nice temporary way to hold it all together. So you're going to basically do that for both of them. The big one, you're just going to have to seam it. That's all. So the extra step will be taking these seam pieces. And I think I talked to Adrian already, but you'll go ahead and slide this in. And if you want it, you could do some nice heavy drill holes here, 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 here. And you're just basically going to plug weld the crud out of it, and making sure that it's nice and strong. Also, what you're going to do is you're going to chamfer I would chamfer like one side of this really well all the way around. And then you're just going to do a root pass and just, just burn that really good all the way around the tubing. But you need to make sure that whole thing is nice and strong. So that's what these seam pieces are for. You'll just put one on both sides, and do it on the horizontal side. So that way, it has the strength this way. When it comes to the 330 for the big boy, it's just going to be just like the little guy, except the little guy just is in one piece, which is lucky, 210. But in order to do the big boy, you're going to go ahead and take 2 full sticks, which come at 240, but plus or minus. So whether or not you have to cut a little bit off in order to clean it up, or if this thing comes at 241 or whatever, then adjust the 90. That's why I'm saying over here, adjust the 90 according to what the 240 is. But you want, when you're done and these are all welded together, you want 330. That's your overall. So make sure the 2 sticks are at 330. And then that's it. But essentially, whatever you do for the little guy is sort of what you're going to be doing for the big guy, just a lot bigger. So going back to the little guy here, so you get your plates on there, get that all burnt, get this gusset in there nice and strong, get it all handled. And then engineering, what they want you to do is they want some self-tappers. You want to self-tap in some 1x1 square tube along the inside center of the frame. So I'll make these are the panels, but I'll make them clear so you can see what's up. So this magenta here is the 1x1 that's going to run all the way along. So all you got to do is kind of center it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I think that's like a couple inches or 4 inches, or I don't know what it is, but essentially you just take this piece, measure the center, put it in the center of that. And then you can see here, like this is a top view. And then I brought these in because you're going to want this 1/2 inch drill point, because you're going to be going through 1/4 inch. So you can pre-drill this, but you're going to be using these self-tappers, and you're going to put them along the inside here. So you'll put that in the center. Where's my side view? Yeah. So it's going to look like that, right? So there's your 1x. So I went ahead and gave you drill layouts. So you can take these 1x pieces. These are going to be, these, excuse me, these are 1/4 inch. So you could do like a 5/16 clearance hole. And I would just take these to the drill press and just do a quick layout. It doesn't have to be perfect, 32.8125, whatever. But if you just do from the center, 2.5, work your way out. This one's 1 inch in from there. And then drill your holes accordingly on your 1x, just like that. And then, like I said, then you're just going to go ahead and self-tap, and you can pre-drill if you want. But essentially, these drills will be long enough to go through your 1/4 inch. And you're just going to frap the 1x all the way along. Okay. Then once you have those 2 pieces in, then you're going to go ahead and take the 2x1 which is over here. Now, again, all of this is based on the fact that maybe, if everything's perfect, this will be 32 inches that fits between here and here. But you might find that once you weld this, maybe it's a little bit less, maybe it's a little more. So whether or not you want to cut these 2x1s right away at 32, or if you want to wait until you have this built and this all burnt, this installed, that you cut these and you find that maybe these might need just a tiny bit of adjustment either way. But if everything's perfect, obviously, then that should be a 32-inch piece that fits right in there. At which point, so once you have this is burnt, these are in there, you have these attached, the 1x's, then you're just going to put the 2x1 in there, and you're going to burn on the inside fillet weld, but not on the face. So that's why I have that. So I have it over here. Anyway, yeah. So you're not going to burn on the face. You're just going to burn on the inside here and here. And then that's going to make that into sort of a ladder frame. So you'll have that strength of the 1x attached here. And then this guy will give it its strength this way. And then also that will be where you can put your double stick tape all the way along. And that's how the panels will attach, the inner panels here. So those guys will get put on with the tape. And then you can also shoot maybe in the corners a safety screw here and here and here, make sure it never goes anywhere. But that inside frame is what gives it the strength and also what you'll attach your panels to. So at which point, that's it. So again, you put the plates on here, make sure it's all square, get your long runs here all ready to go, get those frapped on there nice and square, and split the difference, get it right down the middle, and then go ahead and put in your ladder frame pieces, burn those real good, clean up any, if you do go over, just make sure the face is nice and clean, so that way when you go to put the panels on, you don't have any issues. And that's it. So that's it for making that ladder frame. So while we're making ladder frame, while we have that in our brain, let's just skip over to this one. Same thing, except it's just more. So the difference is you will measure out from the outside here, which is the 1/4 inch added, 56 1/4. You'll have it to there. You'll have your 4-inch piece. You'll permanently burn this brace in on both sides. But then the same thing happens though. Then you have your 1x ladder. Go ahead and, lay that out. I have it here. These are the hole centers there. So go ahead and drill press those. These little guys here, they are off center. So come in 1 inch, and then these are a little bit off center. And then same thing there. You just go ahead and drill all those. And then this is the spacing for the verticals when you go to weld them in. This guy here is just telling you keep the seams offset. So that way this whole straight tube here will help support this seam, and then the opposite here. So you'll have your seam here, which is compromised, not quite as strong. That way it'll have the help of having a solid piece. When you're constructing, you try to avoid that of having your seams, in the same spot. That way it'll make it nice and stronger that way, stronger. So we get to that point. So same thing, just more, but 2x1, burn it in, same thing. Don't weld on the face, clean it all up. And you'll basically have two of the same thing, just one's a lot bigger than the other. So then at that point, the only difference is this guy has a nice little top hat for his party. He's got a little party hat. Nothing major here. You're just going to bend. You got your bend scribe mark there. You're going to bend that up. You're just going to lords this together on the back. And just to give it extra strength, extra sexiness, you're just going to lords in a piece of 2x2 by 3/16. So it's been a while since we've ever used this. This used to be how every sign was made. But now you can go back there in the back, dig out a piece, cut it up, and then you're just going to lords that. I made it that's a little bit short on both sides, so just kind of find the center, lay it out real quick, lords it real good, squish it down, clamp it up, let it cure, and then if you flip it from the bottom, you can drill through. So the actual 1/8 inch part will have the holes here, and then once you have it lordsed, go ahead and clearance hole, drill through. And then you can go ahead and lay this bad boy on there, maybe mark it if you want or whatever. And then you can just use the same self tappers to frap this whole thing on there. Probably do that after paint, but before it goes out to paint, I would definitely take the time to lay this out and pre-drill it and get it ready. So that way you're not doing this fabrication type stuff when it's painted and finished. One thing that might work too is if you can get this part done first, like really quickly, then maybe before you even weld this together, take this top piece before you even weld it and lay it on your table so it's easy to work with, and then lay this on top of this, pre-drill your holes, get this pre-fit, and then you can just send this out to paint, and then just make sure this is facing up, and then just burn this thing, that way you don't have to actually fiddle with this thing while this thing's laying on its side and this thing's all heavy. So that might be a thing to think of. So maybe get this built first and pre-attach it to your topper piece there. But that's the only difference is between these two. All right. So again, that's your spacing of your verticals when you go to lay them out, when you burn them. But again, it's not a huge deal. It's just that these verticals, I just purposely made them miss the self tappers. So, but if this is like, a 1/4 inch this way or that way, it's not really that big a deal. It's just that I just wanted to have room for you guys to be able to frap. So it's not that this is down and dirty. It does matter if it's vertical, if it's perpendicular and stuff and it's all square, but it isn't that huge a deal. So you'll have hardware coming in. I ordered it all up. You've got these structural washers. You've got 8-inch bolts. This is for install. You're going to go through there. Got lock washers, so it all fits. Everything's good to go. For fab, you have your drill guides. So if you put this to the top of the steel, I kind of laid it out to where the posts are just coming straight from the factory, and you're just going to use full sticks. It should be 20 feet. And so you're just going to put this guy at the top and just go ahead and make dimples with your 5/32 bit. Go ahead and make dimples, and then drill through. You can either use 5/8 or 3/4, depending on what install might think they want to use. This is again 1/2 inch hardware. So, and then these holes are 5/8. So if you want to do 5/8 or 3/4, but you'll just go ahead and drill through, then flip it over and do the same thing. Go ahead and measure down, drill through. So drill through all your holes. I went ahead and made 2 jigs in case one gets a little sloppy. But like, again, you're just going to use it to mark the steel and then get the jig out of the way and drill. So get your cutting oil, maybe bring in some drill bits, get your plug-in drill, and just take your time and kind of go slow and just burn through. So that's it. So you'll make the steel using the jigs, make the frames. So panels, this would be for like JR if he's watching. So the panels, I have the panels laid out here, how they'll kind of miss some of the holes. You might have to drill fab when you go to assemble these. You might have to drill some of these holes out if you're using the studs, or if the letters are already on the panels, when you lay them down, you might just cut the studs flush. I brought in some 1-inch aluminum studs that'll be coming in with the hardware order. So just depending on how you assemble these, if you put the panels on first without the letters, then you can go ahead and drill any of these holes that hit some of the verticals like this. Or like I say, if you decide to put the letters on first and then put the panels on, then just flush cut all the studs before you put the panels on. That way you don't interfere with the verticals. But JR, this is how the panels are. I got a 1/16 all the way around, room to fit. Fab, before these go out to paint, you might want to take these panels and test fit. Once you get everything all burnt and in place, some of these welds might interfere with some of the corners of the panels. So before you get too far, I would take the panels and make sure that they fit. If not, you might have to, run them down a little more or something. But I did a 1/16 all the way around, except for the center. They should butt together. So JR, when you go to do the layouts, that's what I got there. And so these are all the letters. These are just 1-inch HDU, as you know. And the difference is, the only weird thing would be these guys, because of this really funky font, the only real way to get that is with laser. But as you know, we can't stud cut lasers. So what I did is I just went ahead and did 2 layers of 1/4 inch. So one will be, we kind of did sign, we already did letters like this already. So this one will allow you to through tap. So go ahead and through tap 1024 all the way through. And then you're just going to thick glue your tops to the backers there. And that will give our sandwich and give the ability to have stud mount. So that's it for that. Just be ready for that little prep. One note is that all these letters are different. So the A on this one is different than this A, and this A is different than this A. So you can see all the numbers. So it kind of starts out, the first A you come across is, A1, and then A2, and then A3, A4, A5. But also the set that's larger here, I went ahead and made these circles on everything. So look for this circle on the backs of all letters, even the lasers. That is this set for the larger sign. The bigger sign has all of the circles. So that's what I'm telling you here, is look out for those. So that'll help. So when you go to assemble these and you have a whole bunch of these letters, just look for the circles, and that'll tell you which circle or which sign it goes with. Anyway, yeah, I know I'm over explaining, but so anyway, so I have them labeled. You got the big sign, Safari, African Safari, Village, Watutu. These are just blank panels. They're all identical. But again, I would test fit these before we get too far into the painting process to make sure that they fit in there once we have everything burnt and it's warped and, transitioned into what it's going to be, to make sure that these panels fit before we go too far into the painting process. And when we have to like grind on fresh paint, that kind of sucks. So, but yeah, so you'll see, JR, if you're, laying these out, that's what these are. So the back, it'll be all routed from the back there. So that's the big one. And of course, the little one just have front and back there. So, but you have the savannas and Watutu Village. So anyway, I think that's it. So again, not too much, but just make sure it all gets put together square and sexy, and should be success. So hit me up if you have any questions.